Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream today. Ron Nicoletti along with Ashley Mayu. Beautiful, warm day here in South Florida and the Keys to a great day. Fast main track and a firm turf course with lots of turf racing and huge fields.
Yeah, we've been lucky the last couple of days. Good weather. We had big fields yesterday, a couple of prices on the card. And I think, Ron, looking at the 12 race card today, there's some big fields that are very competitive.
Yeah, and the Rainbow Six, which starts in race number 7 with this 12 race card. $400,000 jackpot guarantee. And, of course, we have 12 races. Got 3 pick 4s, a couple of pick 5s. Early pick 5, of course, starts in race 1, and Ashley has a ticket.
Yeah, looking at the sequence today, I thought I'd go for more coverage again. I got knocked out yesterday. I was a little disappointed. So a $48 ticket. I just go too deep in here. I think Georgina Baxter's runner, the number 1, Captorini, looks really tough, but I also use the number 5, Treasured Nikki. Guess 1 is my lucky number today. I also use a 1 and 5 here in race number 2. I didn't have a strong opinion here. I think the number 5, though, Pretty Rachel, looks very tough. I think after that, my opinion kind of was diluted. For race 3, 2 in there. And then you can see in races 4 and 5, I spread race 4's 5.5 furlongs, 2-year-old maidens on the main track. And in here, I'll use 3 runners, including a bit of a price. So I use them for second in my picks, but I like the number 6, Gus K. And then finally in race 5, I thought about going 3 deep. I said, why not go 4 deep? I used the number 1, Go Poke, the Bear with some back class, the 2, Super Jaguar, the 6, Golden Decision. My top pick is towards the outside, the number 10, Till the End for Jorge Delgado. So bumping it up from $36, $48 play.
$48 play, so we're starting off here, and rightly so, with the number 1, Captorini, who's dropping a notch. First race since finishing that track, the pace third against 16 maidens, going 5 furlongs. But that was back in May. So Georgina Baxter bringing this horse off the bench today.
Don't mind that, though. 61 to 180-day layoff for Georgina, 22%, so pretty strong numbers. And we talked about this before, not necessarily a barn with a lot of maidens in the barn, but maiden second time out, 22%, 2 for 9 out of that sample size. So I think the strong numbers across the board, combined with that the debut was strong with a nice buyer, I like this one to win.
Let's take a look at that stat right now, so we'll see if they got
Yeah,
it up
this
there.
is even going more into it. I wanted to get a bigger stat. We just mentioned that sample size was small, so I went back to the last 3 years, maidens second time out, 25%. Then it goes to in the money, 50% with a $1.92 ROI. So a little stronger numbers there when we go back another year or two.
Number 11, Emperor's Song, I believe is the other horse you used on your ticket, is another drop into this level after returning from the layoff. Finished a closing second against those 16 maidens. The concern for this horse, and it's right there on paper, the 0 for 12 record, but I think with the horses you're dealing with, maybe you put a horse like that on the ticket. You went with the 5, Treasured Nikki.
Yeah, I was torn between the 5 and the 11 here. I think you're right. The record for the 11 Emperor's Song is a little not ideal. That's the nicest way I can put it, but I said the last effort was pretty good. Now, I went with Treasured Nikki, just looking at the last couple efforts. Most recently was at 7.5 furlongs and was part of that pace scenario, tired to finish third. So I thought this one today on the cutback looked strong.
Embassy Alharami are handling that cutback in distance. So race number 2 this afternoon is a mile claim of fillies, 3-year-olds, fillies and mares, 4 and up, non-winners of 2 in life. No scratches, not a lot of scratches on the card except for maybe race number 10. Had a couple of significant scratches. The rest of basically main track onlys are also eligible. So nice card today. And we both went with the number 5, Pretty Rachel, who's going to try and make it 4 in a row after responding in the first race after the claim. Saul Matos, not a lot of starters, but a good percentage. He's winning races. What is he, like 4 for 12 or something like that?
4 for 13, pretty
4 for
close
13.
there. And then 7 for 13 in the money. So really strong numbers. That's a 31% win percentage. Now, 4 in a row is tough for any horse to do. You're kind of asking for it. I thought last time out it was a pretty good performance. I know it was a compact field. It was over the slop going a mile. This one was able to just clear the field and beat I'm a Cocoa Pebbles. So for me, Pretty Rachel's simply the one to beat.
Yeah, Cocoa Pebbles changing barns. This one has gotten awful popular lately. And going to the 1C Avila barn after a 2-race win streak ended when she made him bid, but had to settle behind, as you mentioned, Pretty Rachel. 10-pin alley you have in second is plunging at 12.5 level. You know, really interesting horse following the 35 optional claiming score in the slop. Gets a clunker at the $25,000 level. Now they drop this horse. It's a little bit of a shaky situation.
It's a little shaky. I think 2 starts back, it was a nice effort, but it was a compact field and a race scheduled for the turf. Got in because it was moved to the main track. And then last time out, I don't know what to make out of that race. I'm going to give this filly an excuse there. Maybe something went awry. I'm going to give her one more shot today. And I think she can possibly beat I'm a Cocoa Pebbles. So.
Flipping the page. Sorry,
No,
Ashley.
you're good.
Just step on you there. The third race, 1 mile on the turf, maiden special weight, 2-year-olds, one of the big fields we have. today. Scratch 3, 10, and 11. I like the number 9 horse in here, Globes, who's stretching out to the mile after. We're going to go back and show you this horse. His last race, we're going to pick it up at the top of the stretch to the wire. And you're going to see here, Globes is the number 6 horse that day. You know, trying to go in on the inside. And typical of the turf races here, just trying to get position. But wait till this horse gets to the 8th pole, and you're going to just see here, just has to slam on the brakes, get stymied in the race. But I like the way this horse closed and finished 3rd in the race. You would just think that this horse, ran better in the race, than not 3rd, but just ran better in the race. So I just thought, well, did finish 3rd. So I just thought after getting sawed off, I'd give it a chance. Edgar Zayas is going to be in the saddle. Edgar, 3 wins yesterday, took a little lead in the jockey standings with that win in the last race. He had 2 earlier. So Globe's on the top of the ticket for me.
I'll be honest, this is a replay I didn't watch, and now it makes me wonder, because I think the big thing to also state about Globes in that performance, for a 2-year-old to kind of have to be jostled around like that, he actually seemed to handle it well. He wasn't as green as maybe some others would handle it, so I thought it was a pretty mature performance. You mentioned he made up ground, so second time out, the barn does quite well, 21%.
And, I can understand having the number 1 credibility as the son of Nyquist. Nyquist, the top sire. But this one only cost $15,000. Mark Cassie, he leads all trainers with 2-year-old victories. He's got Edwin Gonzalez in the saddle today.
That's what I like to see. We talk about Mark Cassie's success with the 2-year-olds, but Edwin Gonzalez was a big part of that before his injury. So far this meet, they've had 15 starts together. 47%. I think that's the most I should say, the biggest win percentage that stands out to me for Mark Cassie is just how well he's done with Edwin Gonzalez. Now, this horse is 3-1 morning line. Everyone's just going with the Mark Cassie factor. But the big thing I like about the colt are the last 2 works out of the gate. They've both been sharp. 47-2 most recently. Before that, 47-3.
The number 8 horse, Creative Kid, who you have on your ticket too, is now in the Liz Doble's barn. This Creative, course, gelding debuts locally, showed promise sprinting on the turf in Kentucky, including that debut at Keeneland. That was a pretty nice race there. Sort of didn't use this, so I actually bumped this horse up from 4th to 3rd. When I went back and looked after the scratch of the 11, I said, boy, this horse has a shot today.
I think this one's sneaky in here. I'm going to be watching the tote board, 7-2 morning line. I'd like a better price on this horse, but for me, the debut was really strong. Obviously, John Hancock, based out of Kentucky, when he has these young horses ready to go at Keeneland, they're usually a price or they're favored. This one was a price, but really performed quite well. Finished 3rd, beaten only by a length and a half, and sat mid-pack early on in a big field of 10. So we know the competition at Keeneland is quite tough. So this one I think is going to be interesting here.
Touch quickly on the number 4, hashtag No Wonder.
Yeah, this one I used for second. This is a first-time starter out of the Carlos David barn. It was purchased just a couple months ago for $47,000. So one of the pricier purchases in the group. A limited number of workouts, but I liked the move 2 back on August 5th at Palm Meadows, 48-2 breezing from the gate. And first-time starters, I should say, 21%. So I'm just going with numbers here. Carlos David, I feel like whenever I leave him off a ticket, he usually wins. So.
I did that yesterday. He won too.
There you go.
So I know the feeling. Race 4 this afternoon. 5.5 furlongs, maiden claiming 2-year-olds, $12,500. I think you went 3 deep on your early ticket, and rightly so in this spot. Rayo is dropping to the 12.5 level, showed some speed in its 4.5 furlong debut. So I just thought of that race. He looked like the one to beat for Angel Rodriguez with Jesus Elios handling the drop down.
It's the drop for me as well. The barn, I'm actually counting in here for the top 2. I use both their runners in this field, but it is a significant drop. The debut was okay. The winner, I remember this, I think this was our first 2-year-old race of the season, had the rail, went to the front, and it was kind of over from there. So this one had to do some chasing.
Yeah, and the number 10 Panoramic Truck is the son of Toneless, debuting for Jose D'Angelo, so I'm guessing, preying on currency, is hoping to collect on his debut. It just works off the farm. There's a lot of guesswork in this race. I think you do good having the 4 on top, and then there's a lot of different ways you can go.
Yeah, I was torn from there. You mentioned Panorama Truck. I used this one further underneath. I wasn't sure in here, so I used a price horse. I also used the number 8, Regal Holiday. Not a strong opinion.
Let's go to race number 5 this afternoon. A mile on the turf. Claim is 3 and up. Non-winners of a race since February 21st. $12,500. Here we go again. Another full field of 12 runners. And you went with the number 10 till the end, who's changing barns now in the Jorge Delgado barn.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the percentage today. 31% Chantal Sutherland and Jorge Delgado here at Gulfstream Park. Finished fourth last time out against a decent group while in the Saffie Joseph Jr. barn. Have faced Freedom Matters, who came back to win next time out. One of my other favorites here, who's done me wrong a couple times, Plenum. But I think looking at the performances, yes, 0 for 8 on the year, but has faced some tough competition, is dropping in for 12-5.
Yeah, 9-year-old barn is good with new additions to the shed row. And you mentioned Chantal. I get yelled at her. 31% Chantal, if you're listening out there. I got it right this time. I went with the 7 Grand Malbec, who's stretching out to the mile. Had that closing speed in 10 consecutive 5-furlong turf sprints for Amanda de la Cerda, who's 23% with horses stretching out in distance. I just kept going back to this horse. I don't know if this horse can get the mile. He's going to be part of the pace puzzle in here, but is he going to be able to last? I mean, he's got more 5-furlong turf races than a lot of horses I've seen.
I like how you counted, too. 10 consecutive. You knew your percentages here. He's one that I actually usually use in these 5-furlong turf sprints. I did not know what to do with him here. You mentioned he could be part of the pace scenario. His last couple, he's tried to close from off the pace, but some of those fractions have been wickedly fast. So he's intriguing here. He's only had that one crack at the distance.
Well, what about the one horse that you use near Go Poke the Bear?
Go Poke the Bear. He's got some backlash on him, I should say. When you kind of look at his races, you have to go back to 2020, but he was in grade 2 competition. He didn't fare the best in those. And since then, it's kind of been a little bit of a rocky path for him. I will say last time out, he did finish second, but it was over the dirt, which, well, it was his first try on the dirt. Not necessarily what their plans were, but I thought he was well beaten. It was an okay effort. Now, getting at him at the 12-5 level on the turf is the reason I'm going to use him.
I'm just looking at our selections there. I'm trying to figure out. We're sort of, we think a little bit alike in here, but not very much.
We might be looking at different races.
Let's go to race number 6 this afternoon. 7 furlongs, maiden special weight, state bred, 2-year-old fillies, and the number 6 Ruffa Red Knot is back with maidens after encountering trouble at the start in that race, hit the gate, and then showed some speed.
I think that was the plan for this filly, and they're going to debut her in the $100,000 Florida Sire Stakes there, the Desert Vixen. They sent her to the front. You mentioned, though, she did have problems out of the gate. She had to actually work to make the lead. She tired in there on debut. She finished third, beaten by 9 lengths. The winner was just much the best. We can say that. David Brady's horse was just sensational in that performance. So I thought overall it was a decent debut. I expect this one to step up second time out, but interestingly enough, this isn't what we know out of the barn. We think of 2-year-olds first time out. Second time out, the numbers aren't as strong.
Yeah, and the drop sort of jumps off the page. I mean, trying winners last time out, even though there were a lot of maidens in that race. The number 11, the Luli's Dancer, is going to stretch out to 7 furlongs after rallying to come within the neck. Well, let's go back and show you this. We're going to pick it up from the 3/16 pole home. When Luli's Dancer, you see out there number 11 closes wide. Had to take sort of the overland route in there to finish second, and it was a good race. You watch these horses come to the wire, and there you see Luli's Dancer on the the outside, just starting to roll, and it ends up being a 3-horse blanket finish. I thought this horse ran exceptionally well, and you're going to see just as they get to the finish line. I wanted to show this, and it was boom at the wire, and Pete couldn't separate the top 2. So we'll see how Luli's Dancer runs. And what about that recent 5-furlong bullet work?
She's working well. I will say I loved her last performance, not just because it was her highest placing, right? She finished second. She finally got out of being third place. But I like that they had her rate and she was able to close, because in her prior efforts, we never saw that from her. She kind of hung around for a little bit. And I think if she didn't do that last time out, I'd have reservations about the 7/8 distance. Now, seeing that most recent performance, I think she's going to like the additional ground.
And you went with number 3, Ambassador Jim, in third.
Yeah, this is one of 2 first-time starters for Kent Sweezy. I think looking at the pedigree here, this one's bred by Donald Disney. Looking at the mare side, this was also a horse that Donald Disney, raced in the barn, and I thought the pedigree was sort of intriguing. The works I thought were better than the stablemate. Comes in here with a drill on August 13th, so I'm just going with pedigree. I know the Connection's not necessarily known for first-time starters, but they did have a first-time starter win at the meet.
Yeah, and Harper Be Good, the 4, is stretching out after tracking the pace, finished at even 4th. Safi been doing much better with his 2-year-olds in second start. Getting Edwin Gonzalez in the saddle. Maybe there's room for this horse to improve this afternoon. That is the first 6 races on the card. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have my Rainbow 6 ticket. It's not 43.20.
I need some help today, Ron. Mine was no good yesterday.
in the two path. Ground on first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. Last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back to Gulfstream. Today, on a beautiful Saturday morning, Ron and Ashley, the main track is fast, the turf course is firm. If you're just joining us, $400,000 jackpot guarantee in the Rainbow Six. Let's take a look at my $57.60 ticket. Had to go and dig down deep today. It's a tough sequence. I went 3 deep in here with Ludington, who's 3 for 5 this year. My main man, Irish Honor, major player for Saffie Joseph Jr. Race number 8, just 2 deep in here, Twirling Grace and Love My Job. Race number 9, once again, 2 deep, Divert and Grazer. And then I went 3 deep in race number 10. That is the stake today. And we had a major scratch of the 2-horse, See My Meister. I like that horse. So I went 3 deep in there, and I think Winging It's going to take all the money. And in race number 12, they scratched my top 2 selections in there earlier in the day. So I just found this race so wide open, so I went 4 deep. It's usually not my case, but 57.60. Maybe I'll get it done today. Do we agree?
I think we pretty much agree. I might have to look a little more. I think in race 11, I might have differing opinions. So I think I'll take your ticket, maybe change race 11 and play it because I need your help.
Well, let's go to the 7th race, a mile. Allowance optional claim at 3-year-olds and up. The optional tag, 25,000. Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I kept going back to the one to put it on top, but I ended up going with Ludington, who I mentioned is 3 for 5 this year. Going to try and notch another return from the layoff. Defeated 4 rivals that day. I was going a mile in a sealed muddy track for Peter Walder. Horse is working bullets, so I thought maybe this would be the light run. But Irish Honor is probably the one to beat. And a lot of people in this opening leg of the Rainbow Six might just go 1 or 2 deep in here if you can think that Irish Honor is the one to beat.
Yeah, for me, I went to Irish Honor just looking at the most recent performance here, which when I say recent was back in January, late January. Thought it was a pretty nice win where this one was able to close from off the pace. It wasn't a big field, but it was a good performance. I think when you look at the efforts at Aqueduct and that return race here at Gulfstream Park, it was very tough competition. Had to face the now stablemate Moonlight Strike and a couple other runners. So for me, I'm going to use Saffie Joseph Jr. Now, I mentioned this is a bit of a layoff as well. So I do have a trainer stat here for Saffie and just seeing how he does first off a 6 to 12 month layoff the past 2 years. He does exceptionally well, 30% from a sample size of 37, 51% in the money, and a $2.01 ROI. So I think the layoff is a concern, but I think because it's Saffie, it's less of a concern.
That's a really impressive stat when you're seeing coming off a big layoff like that. We both have the number 2, My Main Man, and second is a likely race son of Bahamian Squall, making his first start since posting back-to-back allowance victories against state-bred allowance competition during April and May. So once again, but John Vincent has the sophomore training sharply, and this horse was pretty nice before going on the bench.
Yeah, he went on the bench, but you mentioned the sharp workouts. I mean, you can see here there's 3 bullet workouts since his last race. They're very strong. 2 back, that's 59 and 4 breezing, and more recently, more of maybe just a refresher work, 49 and 1 on August 16th. Now, you mentioned his last 2 races, they've been wins. I want to say the state-bred maiden special weight effort 2 starts back where he won by a length and 3/4 ended up being a productive event. You can see the 2nd and 3rd place finishers came back to break their maidens in their following start. So that gives me some confidence in him. He's just a little bit of an unknown. He's going into some deeper waters.
Deeper waters today, and he used hard lighting in third. A horse I didn't use on my ticket.
For me, I look at My Main Man and I look at Ludington and I see a ton of pace there. And I'm just wondering if a horse like Hard Lightning can sit the trip. He's stepping up in class. But I thought last time out when he won back in June, he got a nice trip in last. It was a compact field, but he closed and drew clear and was much the best. As expected, he was favored. And I think if anyone's going to bump this horse up and have him ready to roll, it's Victor Barboza Jr., who we'll talk a little bit about later. But his stats are just... they're on fire. They're crazy good.
I'm sorry. I know that what stat you found yesterday. You couldn't get over it. Well, give you that stat little thanks to Formulator. If you don't use Formulator, you got to use it. It's the best in the game. Race number 8 today, mile on the turf, maiden claiming fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, $25,000. So only going to scratch the 1 and the 3 in here. So we're going to get a field of 9. Yeah, 2 from 11 is 9. So 9 in there. We both went with Twirling Grace to try and find a little more for the stretch drive. Let's go back and show you. We're going to pick this race up also at the 3/16 home when even money favorite that day was Twirling Grace, who we're going to be talking about in a moment, has the lead, but gets caught by its stablemate in here, Riveting Spirit, right at the wire. Twirling Grace to me looked like she was home free.
She did look like she was home free, and she took a lot of play in there. We talked about it. She was dropping in class, but you can see this. She's trying to hang in there. Her stablemate's just closing and really determined. You can see the ears are pinned back and just gets nabbed towards the wire, beaten by half a length. And I think, this wasn't my top pick in here. I used her for second. I had a long shot in here, Martyr of Chariot, Louis Russell, who scratched. So I'm going to go with Twirling Grace. I think her effort last time out, that's good enough, I think, in this spot to win.
It was a pretty good spot, but, got a little slight case of second-itis, so we'll see if this horse can handle that. The number 4 horse in here is Madeira Wine, and did I use this one? Yeah, I used the third. You used it in second.
This is one that I think, I don't know what to do with her. She's well-bred. She's a daughter of English Channel, but she's 0 for 6. She hasn't hit the board in her career yet. You see her last 2 efforts are probably 2 of her better ones, going a mile at the $50,000 maiden claiming level and more recently at 25, slashing that in half. But she's finished 4th in both of them. They've been big fields, but she still needs to find another gear. She hasn't yet, so they did give her some time off, and she's coming here with a bullet trail.
Trained by Patrick Biancone and ridden by Chantal Sutherland. Chantal came back off a little bit of a vacation and a win yesterday. Number 10, Love My Job, is dropping to the 25 level today after returning from the layoff. Finished at Press the Pace and Fade 6th against maiden special weight runners Ralph Nix, Luca Panici. It's a daughter of California Chrome. Here's the race in the Rainbow Six situation where, maybe I should have used the 4 more than the 9, 10. So I'm going to have to hang my hat on Twirling Grace in here to see if this one can get me out of the second leg of the Rainbow Six.
I will say at least Love My Job in her 2 races in her career, 50,000 maiden special weight. She's had similar races where she's been forwardly placed, hasn't necessarily been on the lead, but has been right there and is faded, but she's going to be making her second start off the bench. I'm trying to sell you on your horse. It's also coming from maiden special weight to 25, so this is going to be some significant class relief for her, where when we talk about the number 4, Madeira Wine, has been trying 25. It hasn't worked yet.
Yes, and I can speak for you. We do love our job, don't we?
I love my job.
There you go. So that helps too. So it's a little bit of a hunch play. Race number 9 this afternoon is a mile claimer. 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds and up who have not won 2 races in life. 12.5 down to $10,000. And this is where our late pick 4 gets underway. And Ashley has her late pick 4 ticket. And let's take a look.
So you mentioned the scratches. The scratches really impacted my late pick 4. I was not planning on singling in here, but I ended up doing that. To start it off, though, I just go 2 deep in here. I use the 8 and the 9. The 8 diverts my top pick. Race 10, this is the stake, the Proud Man, $75,000 going a mile on the turf. I use 4 runners. I believe you use 3. The only other horse I use that I don't think you use is my top pick, the number 4, Fulton Street for Rory Miller. Race 11, 3 deep in there. I'll use the number 2, Turn It On, as well as the number 6, Gaga Oh La La, and the 11, World Gone Wild, my top selection. And then I am counting on Saffie Joseph Jr. and Calabash to get it done in the nightcap. Had some scratches in here, and for me, this is the one that stood out.
Yeah, I ended up scratching into Calabash, but that was my 3rd pick. So that's why I went 4 deep in my Rainbow Six there. I got some interest in crammed up. Well, we'll talk about that race in a little bit. Getting back to race number 9 with the 8 horse that I believe is your top pick and mine. Divert goes to the Victor Barboza Jr. barn after the claim, after notching his second victory. When scoring at this level and distance, the barn is pretty good, right?
And the barn is really good. We'll show a trainer stat here for Victor Barboza, and this is an interesting angle. First off, the claim with a winner last out the past 3 years. I don't know if I've showed a stat like this. 15 for 28, 54%, 75% in the money with a $3.17 ROI. I know Victor Barboza Jr. has good numbers, but these are exceptional numbers. Thought this horse last time out, it was a pretty big performance while facing winners for the first time out and stretching out from 7/8 to the 1-turn mile here. And he beat other runners in here. So I'm just going off of who's done the best lately and what I've seen. And for me, that's Divert.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the single in the late pick 4. I don't know. But you used the number 9 horse in second, who I use in third. That's Braccio Di Ferro. Second behind Divert at this level and distance, 2 starts back. Going to renew that rivalry today.
I'll be honest, I preferred the other Jose D'Angelo horse, Feeling Dangerous, the 2 who scratched out of here. So now I'll bump up the number 9, who I think, looking at the most recent effort, maybe had excuses. It was going 6.5. It was going against $20,000 claimers as well, against one of my favorites, Flipping Fish. But 2 starts back, was second in there. And when I say second, second best, but at least this one was clear of the rest of the field by 3 lengths. So it wasn't a bad performance at all. And it was the first time at the 12.5 level.
And the horse you have in third, we got to try a little flip-flopped around here with Super, I should say. A Grazer's dropping to the 12.5 level this afternoon, faced better with some success before going to the sidelines in May for trainer Barry Croft. Jose Morelos named to ride. Jose Morelos flies a little bit under the radar, but this is a pretty good rider, this kid. So I just thought, I think these are the logical 3, but divert with that stat you showed. I guess we just go to the window and bet?
I don't know. I say that, and then maybe I'll jinx the horse wrong.
Well, let's go to race number 10. Feature race of the afternoon, 1 mile on the turf, 2-year-olds, $75,000. It's the Proud Man. And, you're going to say, well, there's a couple of maidens in here. These horses are just starting their careers. So if a horse is a maiden, it's not an automatic horse. And as I mentioned when I was talking about my Rainbow Six, it's my See My Meister, the 2 horse, was my top play in there, scratched out along with the 7 and the number 10. Gilligan. So I ended up going with the number 5, Eldon's Prince, $280,000 son of Cairo Prince, stretching out to the mile, rallied to finish second in its 7.5 furlong debut. Faces winners for Safi, Edgar Zayas in the saddle today. And I just bumped this horse from second up to first after the scratch.
It was interesting. When I put together the late pick 4, I thought about leaving out Eldon's Prince, and I said, well, I'm counting on Safi in the last, so I need to use him here as well. And I think it's a really well-bred, you've already touched upon it, really well-bred Ontario-bred colt. And the debut was decent. I mean, it was kind of shuffled back a little bit early on and tried to make a run just on thin ice, was the best horse in the race, and drew clear. We know this. Safi is maybe not the strongest with 2-year-old first-time starters. It's when their second time out that you see an even bigger improvement. So with a solid debut, this one can certainly step up.
And you did put the number 4, Fulton Street, on top of your ticket.
Yeah, this is the one that you used for 4th. I just thought, the debut 4.5 on the dirt, going to draw a line through it. And then they stretched this one out, put him on the turf 16 days later. And I thought it was a great performance, just attended right off the pace, got up by 3/4 of a length. Now, I know the runner-up, Royal Rocker, is still looking to break the maiden, but the 3rd-place finisher into Touring came back to win next time out. And I just love this performance at 7.5, and I think this horse, is going to go a mile today. But what I saw last time out, I really liked visually.
Well, the number 9 Winging, I think, is going to end up the favorite in here. It's a $200,000 son of Into Mischief, who's the leading sire in the country, but only 5% with turf runners, Into Mischief. But this one debuts on the turf, almost won its debut in that race that was moved to the main track for Jenna Antonucci. That was that good main track. Sammy Camacho, if you're a buyer aficionado, 68 buyers sort of points this one out as the one to beat.
I mean, points this out is just an understatement. I mean, this is by far the best buyer in the field. I know it was on the dirt. The race was scheduled for the turf. Make what you will of that, but only missed by neck. Keto Down, one thing we know, that's one out of the Jorge Delgado barn, had an experience edge for sure. Had a couple starts under his belt, so I think this is an interesting move. Jenna does well with maiden second time out. So a lot of things pointed this horse. My only question was the turf.
Yeah, I think this one is absolutely the one to beat. I'm just fooling around a little bit. But on paper, even though that was on the main track last time out, but Into Mischiefs, I'm not crazy about them on the turf. I like them better on the main track. That's just me. The number 8, Up Her Sleeve, stretching out to the mile after drawing clear at the 3/16th, pulled the breaker maiden for Ken Sweezy. There was nothing wrong with that race. Edwin Gonzalez, I think she's a player in here. He's a player in here, excuse me.
I think the filly is a player in here.
Right.
I think my concern with that race, it was a really big improvement from the debut. Clearly, she didn't want an off-main track in her debut. They were trying to get her on the turf. Now, the light bulb seemed to really go on. The tote board was ice cold. She was 19-1 in that race. So I thought that was kind of something maybe to look into. I still used her here. She's going to face some boys today. Don't know what to make out of her based on that one performance, but she was a nice winner last time out.
And we're sort of in agreement, but the horses
just muddle it around.
Let's go to race number 11, 5.5 furlongs. Claim is fillies, 3-year-olds. Fillies and mares 4 and up. Non-winners of 2, 12, 5, down to 10,000. And for me, I thought the 6 Gaga Olala. I don't know what that means, but that's the name of the horse. Drops to the 12.5 level. Responded in that first race after the claim by Boogie Marat, with a second-place finish against those 20 claimers going 6.5. The turn back to 5.5, the drop, it looks like they want to get a win for this horse. Thought it was the one to beat. Now, you could go with World Gone Wild, but I just thought Gaga Oh La La was a major player today.
The cutback should certainly help her, and how can you really fault her in her career? I know she's been second a bunch. You look at her record, she's yet to miss the board, but she's got 4 runner-up placings. I just think looking at her, 2 back, maybe she got a little tired in there. The winner just kept on going and kind of kicking away from the field, so she's intriguing. I did use her for 3rd in here.
Well, the number 11 World Gone Wild has all the statistics. Easy for me to say, going to the Jorge Delgado barn after that claim.
Yeah, I'm going with the connections again. First off the claim, Jorge Delgado's 30%, and he doesn't claim just occasionally. He claims a lot. That's from a sample size of 60. Obviously, this one's fared well at Gulfstream Park over the main track. 1-2 starts back to break the maiden over a muddy main track, and then last time out facing winners. It was a fine performance.
We both sort of didn't know what to do with the number 1 horse in here, Awesome View. Stepping up to face winners after drawing clear like an international good thing that day. Defeated those 12-5 maidens. Won that race by almost 16 lengths. She's absolutely going to be tested for class, breaking from the rail for Ralph Nix with Jesus Rios. What do you do with a horse like this? It's so hard to throw these horses out, yet you sort of say they sort of got to prove themselves.
You're exactly right. I feel like horses like Awesome View, I either toss them and they're there, or I use them and they disappoint. And the main reason is she's inconsistent in her form. I know if you are a Beyer aficionado, as you say, last time out it was a 73 Beyer. I mean, that puts her, and it was a 15 3/4 length win in a field of 10. I mean, you have to think that's a mega performance to key in on, but what do you do with her races before that? She didn't show that. I mean, she just pulled away on the field. She got the lead, and it was kind of uncontested. So I don't know what to do with her. I used her for 4th. I think she can maybe, step up off her most recent or kind of perform well. I don't know if maybe really improve. It was such a blowout win. I don't know.
It's like the old light bulb angle. Maybe the light bulb finally went off and she put it all together. Boy, did she put it all together. The 12th race today, about 7.5 furlongs. Claim is 3 or 4 and up. Non-winners of 3 in life. For me, in my selections, this is the only scratches that really affected me today. I lost the 7 Farm Strong. I lost Diligent. I lost Spen Benjamin. So those are the 3 horses I had some interest in. Not in that exact order. But Calabash, I think, you either got to do what you did, just go single with Calabash or go deep in here like I did.
He was my top pick all along, and then I had some key scratches of Farm Strong and Diligent. So from there, I said, you know what, at this point, I'm just going to single. I'm not going to use my 4th, 5th, and 6th selection. So single Calabash, last time out he was 2nd. It was well respected in there, going a mile and a 16th at the 12.5 level. He's going to cut back slightly to 7.5, which you look at his 2 wins. They both come at today's distance. His most recent win was 3 starts back, and it was a perfect trip on that occasion. So for me, Safi, I think, has got this horse at the right spot and the right distance, more importantly.
Yeah, I had some interest in Cramden and was going to make this horse my long shot actually today a little earlier on. Then I saw it was 4-1 on the morning line. Lucky I didn't. Second on the turf again, similar, going a mile in the 16th back in May. Drops failed to handle 20 claimers last time out from Mark Cassie. Looks like a major contender now with those scratches we've been alluding to.
Yeah, he likes the 12.5 level. We saw that 3 starts back and 2 starts back. He finished 2nd in both of them. I know the race 2 back, it was a good performance, but it was on the main track. I like that they gave him a shot on the dirt again. Probably not their plan when it was a turf race, but I think the key here is going to be 12.5 off of that 20.
And the key with all horses named Fish is Ashley.
I like my catching fish, flipping fish, I don't know, fishing for fun or whatever the names are. Catching fish last time out was against tough competition, so I'm going to draw a line through that race, but what do you say about the race 2 back when Christian Torres was aboard again today? Was in for the $16,000 tag, had a pretty strong figure in there, and had to work for it at 20-1. Got up by a nose though, so I think this horse is interesting at the 7.5 distance, but on the class relief.
And the number 8 horse, just for a second, goes back to the grass with speed and what has become a wide open affair. So this one maybe gets loose on the lead. Just a speed play for me.
I hope not. I need Calabash here.
Well, that's how we see the 12 race card. I'm going to go to our lightning round this afternoon. And our lightning round is going to start off today with our sister track, Maryland. They're $300,000 up for grabs. And it's Maryland, the strong day up at Pimlico.
Yeah, and it's also Fan Appreciation Day, I believe. You mentioned and $300,000 in purses. So there's 4 stakes races of $75,000 each. I looked at the past performances. Some big favorites in there, such as Jackson Traveler, the really nice horse for Steve Asmussen, and then some local favorites. One of mine is Benny Havens. He's in a turf race later in the card, and then Cordmaker. Everyone talks about Cordmaker in Maryland for Rodney Jenkins. He's in one of the later races.
Yeah, so just a great day up there, and as you said, Fan Appreciation Day. I think they're heading over to Laurel with the new track surface on September 6th or something.
Yeah, after Timonium, that's where they'll be.
And this is for Ashley. She has a lot of interest. She loves this race each and every year. We're talking about the Queen's Plate. Sunday's $1 million Queen Plate.
Yeah, everyone knows me. I love Canadian racing. That's why I fell in love with the sport. Kind of looking at the field of 13, I did my homework wrong, so I'll give you my little lesson here. The 8 Keep Grinding's 4-1 on the morning line. He looks pretty tough, and I think he's a horse that's obviously going to like the 1.25 mile distance. But if I have to give out some sleepers, I have to talk about the number 7, Riptide Rock. Might like the Silks Run, Adina Springs horse in here. He's actually raced 2 turns on the dirt. He's yet to go 2 turns on the Tapeta, but I think looking at his run style at 6-1, he'll offer some value. And then finally, the number 11, Avo Man. This is my long shot. He was the winner of the plate trial. I know it was a compact field, but I like the trip that he got from Antonio Gallardo, who recently moved his tack up to Woodbine and has a shot at the plate this year.
So my try is 8, 7, 11. Is that it?
I feel pretty good about that.
I'm going to be betting that tomorrow. I wrote them down here. You can see I wrote them down, so I'll be betting the Queen's Plate tomorrow. I was really impressed with a horse yesterday called Saturday Night Girl. $650,000 daughter of War Hunt, winning for Glen Hill Farm. Boy, she was just so impressive in this race. She just found that other gear. And you know me, I'm in love with War Fronts on the turf, and I just wanted to go back and revisit this performance. I thought the 5 furlong race, the day race before, set her up perfectly, and a pretty nice performance. Interesting to see where she heads now.
I think it will be interesting to see the next move because I thought it was pretty workmanlike. I know she was a little called upon on the stretch to keep her focus, but you mentioned the stretch out seemed to suit her well. And we know Tom Proctor, second time out with maidens, that's usually a winning angle.
A good angle. And out there in California at beautiful Del Mar, they have their Pacific Classic, also $1 million. And there is the field. And of course, Dr. Post, he won the Unbridled Stakes here for Todd Pletcher, a perennial leading trainer. 4-1 on the board. I think this horse has a little bit of a shot this afternoon.
Yeah, I think he's actually kind of sneaky going out to Del Mar now based on some of his performances. I think the other horses obviously going to take play are Royal Ship and Express Train. I think I used him for second. I'm in this contest, and I think I used Dr. Post for second, but I think he's got a good shot.
Oh, you were in the contest. So who did you pick?
I believe I used Royal Ship on top.
Royal Ship. I got to say that very carefully. Well, that's it. We've done the 12 race card. We're going to be here all afternoon. We still got our buddy Pete Ayala coming with all the scratches and changes, and we'll be back for race number 1.